Okay, Jack, today we're gonna talk about data. And the way I want to present that is I had a campaign last week and I was like, is that actually going better or worse than what the industry is doing at the moment? And I realized we didn't have any benchmark. So I just basically took the last thousands of campaigns being created in the last 3 months on QuickMail and just look at their results and then sorted
Hmm.
them by bottom, 10%, top 10% of performer. And so I could really see where I was. And I figured out like, hey, why not share that with you? And to spice it up a little bit, I could even like do a sort of like mini quiz for you. So, and then,
Mini quiz.
yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. So benchmarks are always fun. We want to know if we're doing a good job compared
Hmm.
to the rest of the pack. We're going to talk reply rate. We're going to talk open. We're going to
Yes.
talk
Click rates,
click. Okay.
unsubscribe as
Uh,
well, and bounces.
Good bounces. All right. Those are important stats for any outbound team. And as we get in, if you're looking for the platform that's used by the best cold email agencies, that's quickmail.com.
That's
It's got
us.
deliverability AI. It's a heck of a thing that you want to have in your corner. And if you'd rather not fuss with it in-house and you just want an agency like SalesSpread to bring you one lead a day by sending ultra personalized cold emails and LinkedIn messages, so you don't have to worry about prospecting, becoming a copywriting expert, or just how to get leads in your pipeline pronto, head over to salesbread.com. Take a look at some of our stuff, learn a bit more about sharpening your sales game, or get in touch about getting leads. Okay,
All right.
sponsors are happy.
Are we good?
Now let's get into it.
Okay. So just quickly on the methodology, I know it's a little bit geeky, but I'm going to make it
Put a
super
timer.
simple.
We're going to ramble.
Well, I just want to explain it first. Basically, there's two ways of looking at data. You could look at all the campaign and do an average, and then you'll get like a number, like on average, people get X%. I don't want to do that, and I'm going to tell you why very quickly. It's called the Bill Gates effect, which is basically you grab a few people and then you have
Do we
one
care about this?
outlier.
Do we really
Yeah,
care about
I think
this?
we do.
Do
I
we
think we
really
do.
care about this?
Yes, I think we do. Indulge
All
me
right.
like two
I'll be right
minutes.
back.
Just indulge me quickly. I'm not going to give you the average, I'm going to give you the median, which basically means you're going to know if your campaign is actually doing better or worse than the certain number of campaigns. Just know that globally, that means the data won't be like skewed by one or two that execute super well. You really know where you are in the pack,
Yeah.
right?
So what Jeremy's saying is if Bill Gates lives in your neighborhood and you want to find out the average income in your neighborhood, Bill Gates would make it look like everyone's making $200 million.
Correct.
There you
Correct.
go. You want to find what do people really do? And that's why the median is important, not the average.
Exactly. Thank you for making it much clearer than I did. All right.
All right.
Now we
On
got the
with it.
10
Let's do
minutes.
it.
Yeah, so
Brilliant.
let's start with the open rate. I'm gonna ask you, what do you think the median is? Which is like 50% of the campaigns are going to do better than this number, open rate, and 50% of the campaigns are going to be worse than this number. So where do you
Yeah.
think the open
So
rate is
uh
at?
let me all right. So if I guess within the, a close realm, that's going to be weird because my guess should probably not be what the even the median is because there's great cold emails using quick mail and
Yeah,
there's
so for sure,
rookies. So
100%.
what's the median? Did you say open rate?
Yeah, and it's just
And
a
what's
caveat,
the threshold? How many sends per campaign did you consider?
a minimum of 1,000 leads contacted per campaign. And that's
Correct.
important, right? Because smaller campaign can have like completely, random,
Yeah.
like up and down. And then the other caveat as well is it's only obviously for campaigns that have open rate tracking, right? For those who don't, then
Okay.
obviously I don't have them as
Good
part of
point.
the
All
number.
right. Let's drive it home at 40% is the median open rate.
Damn, you're good. It's 35.24%.
All right.
Meaning it's kind of depressing for me, like meaning like half of the campaigns that are running decent number of campaigns, right? We're talking about 1,000 leads. They're less than 35%, which clearly I think they could benefit from more deliverability AI if they turn it on, which is will actually rotate them and get like, higher deliverability. But okay, enough.
So we don't love the benchmark of 35%. Maybe we'd say like, look, if you're even close to the meeting here, you got some work to do, right?
That's right. That's right. And there are things to do. But can we guess the top 5%? Like top 5% of the campaign will get.
So now we're looking at the Bill Gates of cold email sending. Is that right? All right. So the top 5 performers, let's double it. They're getting 75% open rates.
Ooh, not bad. So it's 80.91. It's not bad.
Okay.
It's actually a good one. The top 10% is 72%. So we're still talking, okay, so 10% of the campaigns have a very good, strong open rate.
I think if you're listening, you would be proud to have those open rates, right? Like those are solid numbers. Yeah.
That's right. Up to 25%, so a quarter of all the campaigns got more than 58.88%. So that's okay. We're still in a good realm, but that's just only 1/4, right? So that's a bit disappointing. Right. Shall we move to click rate?
What's like before we move on, what's the open rate we should strive for? I think we want to do better than median at 35%. So what are we going to say? Like you should really be aiming for north of 50%, right?
Yes, that's basically what I'm saying. Definitely. In fact, the funny thing, like small thing, like the top bottom 5%, they're still getting like 8.53%. So it's not like 0 or whatever. Like they're still getting something. It's super bad. It's obviously ending up in spam and so on, but some people still open the email. So anyway.
Cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
Good to know.
Cool.
All right. Another one that actually surprised me is the click rate. So what is the median here? Like for obviously people who have click enabled, right?
Yeah. So I really don't care about clicks when I send outbound, but if I had to take a guess, median click rate across the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
For all the campaigns that have click rate enabled.
3.5%.
You see, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like thinking, oh, okay, well, that's like super low and so on. No, you'll be amazed. 30.5%. 30, like 30. It's crazy.
Does that include like YouTube links and a signature?
Exactly, right. Signature and stuff. Yeah.
That's a little different, but okay. Yeah.
But I think it's incredibly high. And I think...
Hold on. You're telling me this. You're telling me that you send 100 emails, 30 people will click them, or are you saying a percentage, like half will open, and of those that open, that's the click?
It's
what's the idea here?
Overall. So if you send 100, 30% will actually
you just said that 35% was the average open rate.
No. Hold on. Let me just clarify. 30.5% for click rate. Meaning you send an email to 100 people, a third of it will actually click. For half of the campaigns, that's more. For half of the campaign, that's less.
I don't think that can be right, because if we think about the open stat we just talked about, if we send to 100 people, 35 will open. If that's the case, you're telling me that 90% of the openers click? That feels a little too high.
No, it's not always the same campaigns that have click tracking or open tracking enabled. Right? So you're sort of like making connection where it's not necessarily the case. Like, for example, like the top 5% of the clicks, it's up to 59.68%. It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah, I don't believe that one. I don't think it doesn't make sense, because like we just talked about, if you could get like 50% of the people to open, that's impressive. Mm-hmm. And yet now we're saying if you can get 30% of them to not only open, but also click your link, we're saying that's a stock average, like the median. I don't know if that works. And if it does, I don't know why. That's not like computing.
Well, you'd be surprised. There are some campaigns that are really geared toward clicks, and that works.
Even still, those campaigns have to worry about getting even just 50% of the emails opened. So I don't know how they could achieve 30% click-through rate. And granted, your stats may be spot on. It just doesn't add up that the average or the median campaign gets 30% of the recipients to click when all other campaigns are struggling to get, better than 35% just to open.
That's right. That's fair. I could dig into that more, but that's the
Okay.
data we have. And
But we're here
the
for
other thing
reply
is,
rates too.
that's
Who
true.
cares
And
about clicks? Yeah.
yeah, that's true. We're gonna come to that. It's just like it was also a very big surprise to me. And that kind of validates some of, well, I can say, first of all, there is a signature that a lot of more people are clicking on than I didn't expect it. And then
Including spam filters are visiting links.
potentially, but
Okay.
we have some delays, so usually that's not the case. Um, it could also, well, anyway, we're not here to speculate. I'll come back
Yeah,
with more
we're good.
info. Moving
Cool,
on.
cool.
The reply rate.
I love you,
Okay.
Jeremy. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. What about the reply rate? What do you got?
Okay. All right. Cross the board, median reply rate, 8.5%.
Oh, it'll be great if this is the case. Man, this is already a good campaign, 8.5%. Like,
All right.
nope.
All right. Good. I'm glad I'm
We're
wrong
far.
because yeah, okay. Tell me. Maybe that's more
Okay,
appropriate for the higher performers, right?
that's right. So, yeah, exactly. So it's 0.48%.
0.48. 0.48. Okay, so about 0.5%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
wasn't too
again, this is
surprised. I would have guessed 1%, to be honest.
all right. And for campaigns that have over 1,000 prospects, 1,000 leads in them.
Yes, exactly. So the caveat here, it's for like big campaigns, right? So usually
Right.
they are a bit more geared toward volumes.
Cool.
And then also the other thing is that there's a lot of iteration. So, uh, uh, um, for example, one client may actually have like 10 campaigns he tried. Some of them are not working, and then at some point he makes it work. You know what I mean? So it's like it's always an
Course.
iterative process. It's a number of campaigns, not the number of clients, right?
And so I think we're all curious to hear. I know I am. Like, how do the the higher performers rank in
Yes.
terms of reply rate? That's going to
So
be really interesting.
exactly. So the top 5% is 16.3%.
Amazing.
Becomes harder and harder, right, to actually get big numbers. But it's
That's
still
great.
pretty good. Like we have our personal campaigns, they're between 25 and 30% at the moment, which is good. Like
Amazing.
I'm enjoying like it's spot on, right? We have good
Yeah.
numbers, which is not the case with all the campaigns we're running, of course. Like we had some duds, that's what you say,
Right.
right? Duds, right? When it
That's yeah.
flops. Yeah.
Yep.
So we had a few of those, but anyway. The interesting news is that the top 10% is 11.15, right? Or
Amazing.
14,
Yeah.
which is not so far from 16. So you kind of like get like, a lot of campaigns are enjoying like a good number of replies. Then it starts to fall with the top 25%, which is 5.98, which is like 6%. So it starts to really becomes difficult as you're getting more and more
Yes.
campaigns, right? And then
Yes.
and then you just get like half of the campaign and it's like 0.48. So between the top 25% and the medium and the 50%, then it goes very quickly
Big
down.
gap.
Big gap.
Right.
Right.
So obviously the work to be done is how do you get yourself closer to the top 10%, enjoying double-digit reply rates? And I'm going to just say, honestly, it is so much harder to achieve double-digit reply rates when your campaign segment is north of 1,000 prospects. That is hard. What honestly like is easier to do and is just chunk up your segments a lot smaller, speak to them very specifically, and then it's a lot more doable to get those double-digit reply rates. So at SalesBread, I see a lot of like campaign fragments that are being created and sent all the time. So my hat's off to you if you're listening and you're just crushing out 2,000 prospect campaigns, because that's not easy to do.
You're absolutely right. In fact, or 30% and so on are not on 1,000 prospect. We are more like 200, something like that, right? So that's a very fair point. In fact, in the next episode, we're probably going to do a review things when I'm going to run the numbers for like smaller campaigns and then compare if they actually, have a big one. And I'll come back on the click stuff because now you get me curious.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm pulling the Jeremy card.
No, that's fine. I love it.
So by the way, when we do analyze a smaller one, I wonder if if that median will be closer to that 8.5% figure I threw out. Because look, my world is like more fragmented campaigns that are more like, smaller batch, if you will, and frankly easier to get higher rates. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. Yeah, I'd love to do a part two, assuming you're game for it. And
Oh yeah, I'll be coming with like new one. There's a I know we're over time, but I think it's very interesting. The reply rate I checked also for people who track the open tracking and the people who don't track the open tracking.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
isn't that cool?
I would love for you to tell me there's no difference. I would love to hear that.
There is. Which one do you think get better results? The one with turning it on or with turning off?
So here's how I answer this question.
With another question.
Can we get rid of the timer? It's just like,
yeah, it's annoying,
like it's nagging
right?
me. So I would answer this question as follows. Do I believe that more sophisticated cold emailers, thus ones likely to enjoy a higher reply rate, have open tracking on or have open tracking off? I'm going to say that the more sophisticated cold email is likely to turn open tracking off, therefore have a higher reply rate on average, and yet that may or may not be the causation of the higher reply rate. How'd I do?
The opposite, my friend.
Basically,
people with people with open tracking off, the top 5% is 7.36%. So less than half. Like you turn your open tracking on, you got 16.15% reply rate. So let's say I'm just going to remove the last digit. So 16% with turn on, 7% with turn off. It's crazy. And the median, however, is like slightly in favor of the turning off. So it's 0.61% versus 0.48%.
Wait a minute. The median is in favor of turning it off with a higher reply, but we're saying the top performers.
Exactly. Basically, the top performers perform better with turn it on. And I believe it's because people don't, I believe the people who turn it off are so focused on deliverability that they may attribute their lack of results to deliverability and therefore spend more efforts on that. Where the people who are really good are just like, it's fine, we can leave it on, kind of thing, right? That's my theory.
Wow.
That's what I'm thinking.
Cool.
But the interesting thing is, as we are going toward like the bottom 5%, bottom 10, and so on, the results is actually better for turning it off than turning it on. So I think there is a bigger variability when you turn it on than when you turn it off, right? So
interesting. And so with that, if you're listening and saying, "Oh, I should turn it on or off," and frankly, I'm a little bit confused, which is the recommendation. I think that's the point. That's the point. There is no recommendation yet, right? Like, sorry, it is not to say that turning it on is going to boost your reply rate. That's not what we should take from this.
Yeah. I think there's more to it. Let's put it this way.
And probably a follow-up discussion. So we've got two more things, though, Jeremy. We have bounce rate and unsubscribe rate.
I can fly through if you want. Unsubscribe rate, the median is 0.36%, which is really good. I was surprised. It's like if you get less than 0.36%, you're doing better than half of the campaigns.
And isn't the spam complaint rate that we try and stay away from, is it 0.01%? What is it again?
I think it's 0.03%, which is funny because this is the top 5%. The top 5% got 0.04, unsubscribe
interesting.
Right?
Nice.
The bottom one got 6.48%, bottom 5%. So it's like, oh, mine is huge.
Nice. Anyway. Now, I'm curious for bounce rate. I don't think we're across the board staying under that golden 5%. I think we're not all that good.
You're going to be surprised.
I'd say 4.8% is the
you're going to be very
just because you said you're going to be surprised. Hit me.
No, but in the other way around. So the medium is actually 0.43% bounce rate, meaning on QuickMail, half of the campaigns
less than
0.43% of bounces.
0.43%. So in decimal form, 0.0043.
No, 0.43%.
Okay, so 4.3%.
Let's say 0.5%, right?
Half a percent for bounce rates.
It's awesome. It's amazing.
Yes, but how is that possible knowing that Neverbounce, for example, at their
Okay.
best, they're showing me 3% bounces?
So there's a couple of things. Well, there's a couple of things. People get there's a lot of so here's my theory, right? There's a couple of things. The first one is we introduced MX bouncing. It's a light bound debounce, which basically on our platform you can't send to someone who doesn't have email on
Right.
their domain.
Cool.
Right. So if there is no email associated to the domain, you enter it to QuickMail, we'll check the domain, we'll check the provider and say, oh, there's no provider, there's no point in sending the email. So automatically we do that, which means like most of the campaigns now are not bouncing with stupid bounces, which used to be the case before.
Okay.
So you already remove like a lot of those. The second thing I'm thinking is like a lot of people are now using multiple services to actually debounce. And as those services, one will say, you know, it's unknown, the other one will say will bounce, and then it will just use like, okay, we're not going to send it. I believe people are getting much smarter. We do have, however,
Less
like
than 1% though.
I know it's amazing.
I
I
don't
think it's
know.
great.
I think take a look at that one just for me, just so I can sleep at night, and take a look at click-through rate. If I mean 0.5%, that's it. It's fascinating. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
I
It
mean,
would
the
be a new
bottom
standard of
the bottom
emails.
10% are doing more than 5%, right? Which
Okay.
would be expected, but we would have expected it probably at the bottom 25% or more. The
Correct.
bottom 25% is doing 3.5%. So a quarter of the campaigns are actually bouncing at more than 3.5%.
Cool. Well, Jeremy, you got some
Pretty good.
interesting and surprising stats. I appreciate you sharing that with us today.
No worries. I'll come back with verification for the clicks and doing for smaller batches campaigns as well, because I'm curious to see what's the impact there.
Yeah, will it be better? That'll be fascinating. Let's do a part 2. And if you like the podcast and you want to suggest a topic, you could reach Jeremy and I. You can say hello at podcast@quickmail.io. We love to hear from you. And if you want to include a cold email, we'll do a teardown. And we will be, what's the word? Harsh yet helpful.
Tough love, I like to say.
There you go. All right. And of course, there's course.quickmail.io as well. All right. Sponsors are happy. And really, thank you, Jeremy. That was cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Jack, for now I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm going to have to crunch more numbers.
All right, man. Well,